Yes, well, I'm going to do a short introduction because actually the one who should be here giving this presentation is Merja Paakson, which is my colleague from Finland, from Lapland University. But she is busy with another course right now, and she cannot be here. So I'm sorry because Merja is much better than me, but I have to be here in the presentation. And my intervention in that project was as an external evaluator and counselor, but the project is in charge of Merja and another teacher from Lapland University. Thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity of giving this speech, and I hope you like it. Well, let me introduce first this index, which is scheduled as follows. First of all, I'm going to give you an introduction of the new curriculum in Finland, and then the idea of cooperation between museum and educational centers, which is also an interesting point in the new educational system in Finland. I give some theoretical framework to contextualize the project, and then in the end I'm going to explain about the concrete methodology that you follow to apply this project, and some examples of the activities they carried out in the article, which is a museum in Lapland. In the end, I'm going to show you some results and some conclusions about this project. Well, to begin with, I'll talk about a new curriculum in Finland, which is something that is applied right now, this year. And it was renovated by consensus, and this is very important because it's something that is not happening in many countries. For example, in my country, in Spain, political parties are used to having discussions about this. But in Finland, they asked the teachers in the school what they were worried about education and what are some of the main competences and ideas they should promote for future generations. And after collecting data from that questionnaire, they organized the new curriculum. So that's great. I think this is the way of doing things. And this new curriculum is based on key cross-curricular competences, interdisciplinary competences, and allows and encourages to teach in different environments. For example, outside classroom, it could be museums, as we're going to see right now, but it could be also in nature, in the forest, in farms, and in the cities, many different places. And practical activity is strongly recommended. So, in the field of history teaching, they want to promote different ways of approaching history, and different sources and resources to know about history. And when we talk about sources, we talk about archaeological remains, historical texts, and newspapers, and pictures, and others. And when we talk about resources, we talk about different methodologies and ways of doing, problem-based learning, for example, cross-curricular projects, different kind of techniques. And this idea changed completely old-fashioned way of teacher lecturing and children listening, and the only way of teaching history. So, if you keep an eye to this graphic representation, it's easy to realize how the new curriculum is organized in 7 basic competencies that are general competencies for the whole life. And it is very focused on thinking skills, cultural knowledge, skills for everyday life, multiliteracy skills, different languages, different ways of approaching information, and the use of ICT, very important as well, and entrepreneurial skills and basic work-life skills, and participation, active citizenship, education. So this means that if a teacher wants to achieve, for instance, competence number 2, which is our cultural knowledge, he or she can conduct lessons dealing with different subjects. It could be history, art, music, languages, and ICTs, social studies. So this is more focused on the idea of working on projects and multidisciplinary activities than on single subject matters. This is a new way of doing things. To put in practice this idea, Finnish laws encourage to set up cooperative experiences between regional centers and other. As a matter of fact, here we have this example of cooperation. This is the Arcticum Museum, which is a very nice multidisciplinary museum in Rovaniemi city. Maybe you don't know about Rovaniemi, but it's a very famous town in Lapland, in North Finland. And it is supposed to be the Santa's house, Santa Claus house, hometown. So it's very traditional. It's the center of the Samish culture, which is a traditional people in Northern Scandinavian countries. And this museum is quite interesting because it includes an ethnographic section about Samish culture and folk issues in Lapland. Also, natural science center with geological aspects and fauna and vegetation in the area. It is very focused, for example, in the study of northern lights, which is very common there in Lapland. And it includes also part of history of Lapland. So it's very multidisciplinary, very open and interesting museum. Thus, a cooperation project was started between the museum and the University of Lapland with two big goals. The first one was to provide teacher trainees an experience of a different way of learning. And so teacher trainees from the Faculty of Education in Lapland University go usually to the Arcticum to do different kinds of activities. And also how this museum experience can be expanded to local school through the practicum for the students and also through some activities done in collaboration with the university and the schools in Lapland. So apart from this practical collaboration, there are some aspects to be taken into account from the theory, as for example these issues that I just down. The first one is about museum pedagogy. It means to go deeper in the possibilities, the potentialities of didactics in museums. The thing we're going to explain are very connected to other experiences in other museums. For example, there is one very famous one, which is the Glasgow Open Museum in Scotland, in which they have a lot of things, a set of materials that they borrow to other schools. So the schools can have for a week or for a period of 2 weeks a set of materials from the museum and interact with these and do activities in the school and then come back to the museum. So there are many things to be done in this field. How to really practice this in the Arcticum was the second point. And also what is related to heritage education, heritage interpretation. Heritage is what we inherit from our ancestors, from the former generation, which is part of our national identity, cultural identity. And the authors differentiate between what they call heritage education, which is more focused on the school and conducted by teachers, and heritage interpretation, which is focused on the places, the archaeological sites or the museum, and it is done in situ by teachers, but also other type of professionals. And another point is the workshop teaching, which is a methodology, maybe active teaching and getting the students involved in the learning process and making things and what is more interacting directly with materials, which is So this is the last part, didactics with reality or real materials. Methodology can be summarized so in these 3 points. Institutions cooperation, to feedback on new ways of teaching and learning. Implementing pattern workshops in the Actimum that can be educated or expanded in the schools in Rovaniemi. And applying systematic evaluation based on external observation. This is my role. And also teachers' questionnaire. Because it is the 3 elements combined, connected in this way. So, let me show you some examples of the workshops conducted by the teachers from Lapland University, especially by Maria in the Actimum. And the Actimum workshop is more or less this way. This is the main entrance, and this is a big corridor, and this is the natural and geologic section, and this part is the folk section and the history section. Here we have a classroom, which is well, something like this. It's a chamber where activities can be done. It's not part of the exhibition, and the methodology can be summarized in 3 big steps. Part of the activities on the exhibition, and the rest in the classroom. So this is the first step. And here you see some pictures taken during the workshops with the teacher trainees. Here they are. They are students in the Faculty of Education, and they are around 18 to 20 years old, more or less. So they are visiting the museum and doing activities in order to get ideas and gather ideas, and also to see in practice how to apply that kind of activities, the activities with their children in the school when they become a teacher in a professional school. So the first step of this methodology was the visit to part of the exhibition. That was done with the aim of giving them the social, historical context they need to understand what they were to do. And the main aspect they had to focus on was changes in lifestyle in the area, in Lapland, along the history. So past and present of Finland and Romania were displayed. As an example, let me tell you that, for example, this picture, here the first one, on the corner, there are displayed items from normal people during the Winter War and the Finnish War, which is very important for Finland history, because it was when they became independent. So this year they got to celebrate 100 years of independence. And also there are other events related to the Soviet invasion and the beginning of the Second World War and that context. So things that are displayed here are usual items, common items from people in those times. For example, people, refugees, and people persecuted by the Nazis, for example, or the Soviets. The second picture, right corner, is some cabinets displaying ancient societies' items to show lifestyles in the past, especially during the early Middle Ages and even before. So they could see different ways of living there, how they are connected to the way still some people from Shanti Petrov is doing right, and also the changes from the past and nowadays. And that one is a hut, the last is a hut by, from that society, which is very interesting to see not only the structure of how they were built, but also the measures and the way they were settled in the place and that kind of things. Okay, this is the second step in the workshop. And this is some of the materials they use in the classroom, in the museum. So this is working with real materials. It's something very usual in Anglo-Saxon countries. For example, in England, they use a lot of that kind of techniques. And it was interesting because it was a way of seeing how history passes by physically. So for instance, they have these perfect some pieces of ceramics. They are materials provided by the museum. Some of them real materials, like the trees in the pictures, others replicas, but provided in well and prepared for the museum, for the workshop. So you have to try to stick the pieces of the ceramic and try to get the shape, the function, what was used for, and that kind of thing. So the goal of this is learning directly from real objects, how objects were important in the past and why they express different ways of living in each era. For example, the second one with the trees, it's quite interesting because okay, there is a big tradition of forestry in Finland and especially in Lapland. They do many things in nature and they are very expert in forestry, so they can really appreciate in an easy way with the observation of the tree rings, for example, the years, the past, and some particular events like fires or floods, because they are reflected on the trees. So it's interesting also to see chronology and some historical concepts that are really important for them. And the last one, and the bottom corner, is a number of pictures of the same places in Rovaniemi city, in the past and in present time. So it was interesting to compare how things changed and how the evolution of social and economic styles in a city make the same place so different. So connecting ideas to the curriculum was also an interesting point in this part of the workshop, because what the students of the teacher training had to do was, of course, to analyze, to observe, and to interact with the objects, but also to think about what things from the objects can be related to the competences in the curriculum. I mean, okay, as a teacher, I have to teach this in the curriculum in my future job. So, how can I connect things that I have to teach by law with things I can see here in the objects? So that connection was really interesting, and also reflecting on potentialities. And the last part of the workshop was this one, which is also a number of sets of objects prepared by the museum. There were different suitcases and bags with materials from real persons, and they have, in order to reconstruct the function of the objects or the era, but also how these objects can give us information about a normal person living in that time. And as an example, first picture are issues and things related to traditional people living in Lapland, still with a tribal organized society. The second one is a suitcase with material from a refugee woman in World War II. And the last one is a set of objects of an employed person in the 60s and the problems that person has are into game and drinking and other problems in that moment. Well, something interesting here was hypothesizing personal stories. What was the problem, what was the life of that person, what happened to that person in that context, that history happened, what are the things around that influence him or her. I tried to understand real lives and also acting in personality. Because one interesting activity they did was take the audience, try to interpret situation and scene, and perform as actors. And then the rest of the students can ask them questions about why are you doing that, what is this object, what is the function of this object, what is important for you, and that kind of thing. So very, very interesting. Well, apart from the things they learned, Maria Baxiniani also conducted some research in order to get teachers from schools in Rovaniemi and thought about this workshop and how they could take advantage of this. And these are the results of a questionnaire passed to the teachers and what they answered. So in general, as a conclusion, they love the idea of considering students, even small pupils, as researchers, not only a static listener, but a student that can interact, can interpret, can do things. Those skills related to interpreting historical issues are also especially valued, and also developing critical skills and also to provide a more practical pedagogy. In addition, here you have some conclusions also that are related to the interest for museums and how this kind of methodology increase understanding of local history and local culture, and how this methodology helps to understand all this in a better way. Okay, so as a conclusion, as a conclusion, we can see that pedagogy in museums is something really useful, something really interesting. It is an action, it means that we already put in practice, but it can be expanded and go more beyond. It's important to take advantage of the connection between university, museums, and school. I think to set collaborative programs between different kind of institutions is something that can be more interesting for our students and for the community in general. Working in a multidisciplinary way with an open curriculum based on competences is much more attractive and motivating than the traditional way of single subjects, especially if we work with small kids. It could be an interesting option. This is the way that they are doing in Finland, and then generative in the way of teaching and learning. It means that history teaching can promote more active experiences and develop things that Anglo-Saxon countries call as historical thinking history, making history, active ideas instead of traditional listening, and which is also interesting, this kind of methodology about learning from real objects, working with realia. It's a way of materializing abstract content, maybe difficult content for kids, that if they can see and appreciate in a real way, can be much interesting matter. Okay, that's all. Just some references that we are going to include anyway in the article for the book, of course. But in general, this idea of having fun while learning in museums and connecting collaborative projects between the schools and museums, that is what we have done. Well, especially in Mary, I just helped her a bit, but it could be something that you can appreciate or take into account for future projects. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions? Or
I think I was very fast, sorry.
because you are
It's fantastic because sometimes schools are maybe very shy to ask for something like this, and museums are sometimes very close to receive children. You know, they are disturbing, noisy, they have to take care of the conservation. So we are yes,
workshops in museums, and children like it. So I think it's the future of connecting museums and schools, learning not only history,
yeah, could be also learning sciences.
I would also have a comment about this because I come from the museum. Yes, and here in Slovenia, of course, from Ljubljana, from the City Museum of Ljubljana, and we work with children for more than 10 years now, and we have also these kind of programs, and we have no problems with children, school children, middle school children,
right.
even kindergarten children coming in our museum, and we have like different types of programs from, I don't know, we have also the tours of the museum first, and then similar as you do with suitcase, we also have one program very similar. But we are like focusing on local history, like Romans, prehistoric history, and we have programs and also special working sheets made just for different for primary school and for middle school. So we do have a lot of this also.
Yeah, I strongly believe this is the way. Even if you need to do a special activities with children or with families with a different part of the collection, you can organize it with no problem. But of course, open your gates. It is something which is crucial.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm wondering about your evaluation of teachers
Sorry?
after the program. You have evaluated the teachers' opinion about this program.
Yes.
So there was one issue, promoting critical skills, and it's less pointed topic. So why? Do you know why?
Why critical skills in this?
Yes, because I thought that, can you show the sheet
Which one?
with the evaluation? The next one. Yes, skills, no, not. Critical, developed critical skills. You
Yeah.
see?
Yeah, it is
That's
referred
really
to,
different to the other points. Why?
Well, it is referred to not to memorize history with no questioning, but to think about why interpreting this in this way and what are the different versions of history. Because there are some very controversial topics in history we all have in our countries, our own. In my case, it's the Civil War, of course, but in Finland they have very controversial topics because of the Soviet invasion and the German invasion. So the way of approaching these kind of topics could be just controversial. So you transmit the idea that you can see different points of view and think on your own and try to debate and see how you can learn from the past in order to not repeat the same problems today. That is critical thinking. Also the way of managing the historical sources and analyzing the truth behind the line, that kind of thing.